Awesome. Welcome, Scott. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to my TED Talk. We have a panel. We have Phil Pearson, Havard Len, and Leanne Johnston. If they could join me on stage, that'd be much appreciated. Wow. Well, I didn't realize I'd be sitting quite so far away from you. Hello, everyone. Streaming, it all blew up. Literally, somebody set a bomb under this panel at the end of last week, Twitch specifically, with a posting on Twitter, which basically said gambling content on Twitch has long been a big topic of discussion in the community and something we've been actively reviewing since our last policy update on this area. Today, we want to update you on our plans. While we prohibit sharing links or referral codes to all sites that include slots, roulette, or dice games, we've seen some people circumvent those rules and expose our community to potential harm. So we'll be making a policy update on October 18th to prohibit streaming of gambling sites that include slots, roulette, or dice games that aren't licensed either in the US or other jurisdictions that provide sufficient consumer protection. These sites will include stakes.com, rollbit.com, jewelbits.com, and roobet.com. However, we might identify others as we move forward. Right, Phil, where does that leave us?
Fucked.
Yeah.
Twitch hates crypto, pretty much, but it leaves us in a place where things are getting better. There's starting to be regulation amongst YouTube, Twitch, streaming companies. The problem is it's not coming from regulators. It's coming from Amazon. Yeah. And in a nice way, Amazon don't really know what they're talking about. At least they're doing something, but it needs to be taken up on a regulatory level now at this point, I think.
I mean, the idea that we effectively now have gambling regulation outsourced to Amazon seems something quite bizarre, or wouldn't have been a subject of discussion even 2 or 3 years ago, I think. How have we got to this situation? How would you explain the rise of streaming, and what would you say about some of the, I think, the scandals that have preceded the move by Amazon on Twitch?
Me?
Yeah.
You're a Nazi.
I would say, honestly, I mean, Twitch has come a long way from where it started. You have groups you're going to see on stage later with Casino Grounds. There's groups of people who are doing it the right way. They're focused on RG, they're focused on the players, they're giving away stuff, they're giving away information, they're teaching people about games, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have a group of people who are less inclined to be nice to the industry, playing for fake funds, getting deals with providers to not pay any GGR on those slots. Basically, all of this kind of thing in order to push certain games to people who are at risk. So from how far Twitch has come, and from how Star Streaming has come, and from how far affiliates have come in using it, it now needs to be put into a place where we are focused on the end result, which is protecting at-risk players, age-gating the industry, and making sure that we're not targeting 17-year-olds who play Call of Duty. Yeah. Because what the Americans have done is just shocking.
Right. Okay. Leanne, I think it's the problem of who's corralling this or who's going to attempt to corral this. We had a discussion off stage about the issues raised around crypto, for instance. But just in terms of trying to corral gambling on Twitch, is there anybody looking at this in terms of, like, particularly regulators, but also in terms of operators? Who's
I think you touched on that a little bit earlier. I think it's who's going to take the responsibility. In my opinion, I think if you're going to work with content curators, you need to have very clear guidelines in terms of the content that you want them to produce. You need to be giving them the insights that they need in terms of what the different regulatory standpoints are. And you need to be very clear about how those content curators are going to be representing your brand. So I think there's a big responsibility on both the content curator side to understand what they're promoting and to do that with best practices in mind. But there's also a huge responsibility on, heads of affiliates, the people that are in charge of your brand, to actually dictate what those guidelines are when you do engage with content curators. Because the fact of the matter is, we can't ignore content curators. Social media platforms have now been created where anybody can become an ambassador, a spokesperson, a brand builder. And I think it's about getting very serious about where and how you want to work with different types of affiliates in your business to actually build your brand responsibly and ethically. We can't rely on regulators to tell us how to run our business and to communicate with our customers. That needs to come from within.
Can I just take a step back? Who are these content creators?
Well, I mean, anybody that can build a brand with a social media channel, you don't even need to have a website these days. You know, you can use Clubhouse, you can use Twitch, you can use Instagram. There are so many different content creating platforms. There's a whole economy around content curators now. So I think, you know, it doesn't really matter what channel. It could be Twitch today, it could be TikTok tomorrow. You need to be dictating how your partners are going to be using those platforms to promote your brand.
And these content creators, are they strictly affiliates in the way that we understood it previously?
No, so I think I actually believe, and I'm going to make a bold statement, that the word affiliate is actually archaic. And considering that I've been in the industry for almost 2 decades, I think we're moving to a partnership economy where anybody can be your partner and refer customers to you. And actually what you want as a digital marketer is to be touching all of those places where your customers are hanging out online. And it's not just we're also talking about Web3. We're talking about, you know, Affiliate 3 now. This is the 3rd iteration that we're moving into. So I think even brand-to-brand partnerships are going to start slowly creeping into the gaming space if they haven't already, just like it is in the e-commerce world.
How about you work in the affiliate sector, and I know you've said before that you said before we came on stage just about the future for SEO, for instance. What does this mean? What does the rise of streaming mean for traditional affiliate work?
Yeah, I mean, we need to adapt as well. SEO will still exist, but it will be a different kind of SEO. It will be we need to adapt to the world of different content other than written content. We need to move towards new channels such as YouTube, Clubhouse. We need to move towards more social content compared to what we are used to at the moment, where we are basically hidden behind the screens and writing. So that's it's a huge challenge, but SEO will still be applicable to this industry, but it will be in a different way. I think that SEO will be more how you are going to be visual in Web3, for example, VR. There will always be ways to do it, and it's up to us to figure out how.
Now, from my understanding of the way that casino or live casino streaming has grown up, is that it kind of bears a resemblance to gaming and streaming gaming. And now that has become a big thing, a huge thing. And some of the personalities on those kind of brands are genuinely got millions of followers. Are we talking about that level of success of personality, of that level of people following these casino streamers?
Well, I think if I can weigh in, I mean, I've got a 10-year-old, and he loves watching people play on YouTube. Now, I don't get it in my generation. I'm a Gen X, but we're talking about the next generation of people coming through that are over the age of 18, 21. They've grown up in a different world, so you can't ignore these channels. You need to understand how to harness them, but put the best practices in place so that it works for you and your business. So I think to ignore it, you're missing a big chunk of where your customers are actually hanging out in the world and online. To speak to your point about SEO, I'm a big believer that partnerships are going to outrank any other digital channel in the next 5 to 10 years. So thinking about your strategy in terms of how you promote your brand and how you reach your end customer, whoever that customer avatar is for your business, you're going to have to start working with these partners. You can't not work with them.
Phil?
No, I mean, I was going to tell a story, but it was a really bad story. But no, like 2 days ago, I got a phone of someone, I mean, this is going to sound weird, but someone who was 10 years old. Let's not go into it. And then I went to YouTube. I went to a Twitch streamer who was a very big, well-known Twitch streamer in the USA, and his YouTube channel, and he was streaming slots, and you could watch it at 10 years old. There was no age gating. You can click on a link for one of the 4 crypto casinos mentioned in what you said. I'm not going to name them because
I've just done one.
Yeah, we're not doing it. And he was able to sign up with his information, and he is 10.
Right. Yeah.
That should be closed down.
Well, yeah, okay. And the key here, what you mentioned there, is the crypto link. Now, that is it's a slightly off topic, but if you look at the rise of crypto gaming at the moment, or in the last few years, obviously it's risen in line with the interest in cryptocurrencies themselves, and even actually outstrips their growth because it doesn't have the ups and downs of the currencies. What's the kind of link between streaming and crypto, and how dangerous is that link? Or how strong is that link, first of all?
To begin with, there wasn't really one. To begin with, it was mainly they were streaming on Curacao casinos or MGA casinos or UK casinos, and it was all normal stakes, normal gameplay. It's only since they went to the crypto casinos where generally people are playing for higher amounts, and the crypto casinos are trying to push volume to their sites because the profit on a crypto deposit is so much higher. If you deposit on an MGA casino, you're spending 8 or 9% on the deposit and withdrawal combined. On crypto, you're spending 0.36 cents. So their focus is only on profiteering, which is why when they're regulated by Curacao or they're regulated by someone else, the fact is that they are not given directives on how to do their job. So the fact that you can sign up without even putting in your address is just crazy. So that's where the connection came, because they can offer the streamers more money because their profit is higher. Right. And if you can pay Drake $100 million, then something is very wrong with how much profit you're making off how many players you have.
Right.
I mean, I'm reminded by something that Peter Parker's uncle said, which was, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think the onus...
That's been said today, I think we're finding out.
I think the onus is on every single party in that channel that sits between the person providing the solution to play and the person watching or getting encouraged to play. And that is not just the affiliate, and it's not just the operator, but it's all of the people that sit in between. So my question to the 10-year-old is, where was that 10-year-old's parents allowing them to watch that content on YouTube? Because my kid can't access that on YouTube. So I think we need to put it into perspective. Yes, that is a massive problem, and I would be irate if my child did see something like that. But I've also set the precedent in my own four walls to make sure that my child is not exposed to things like that. So every single person in that channel has to be responsible, and the problem is that we not all are.
Problem is the streamer classed it as gaming. They didn't class it as slots, so it never hit an age gate. That's why they can all get around it, because no one is regulating YouTube, pretty much.
Pretty much.
How could they?
Well, YouTube should be regulating YouTube. They also have a responsibility as a platform provider that allows free flow content onto their platform. They need to have stronger regulations. Same thing with Facebook.
But they're not going to, are they? They're simply not.
Not yet, because we haven't put the pressure on them.
Well, yeah, but the gambling industry is not going to be the one that's going to be able to put the pressure on them, and they're simply not going to do what you're doing, because people have been complaining about other content on YouTube for a decade, and nothing's happened there.
We need more DDoS. So DDoS is the reason why this has all happened. So pragmatic, relax. Anyone associated with crypto gaming in the last 3 weeks has been hammered by DDoS attacks from Russia. As of this, they went after...
Could you say that again on mic?
Bad, Rory. So, on DDoS attacks over the last 3 weeks, all of the main game providers on stake.com and other sites have been attacked. Everything has been down, even MGA. Their sites have gone down. Amazon was threatened with having Twitch DDoS attacks, which most people believe, allegedly, is why this has now come into place, because they don't want their services to be taken down. So they're actually taking a stand because of the acts of internet pirates.
Wow.
Which is amazing, because they're the ones standing up for maybe their 10-year-old kid who's gambled money away.
So we've got internet pirates.
Internet pirates
trying
are
to
saving
protect
the world.
their kids by attacking from Russia.
Yes, Johnny Depp.
Right. In this situation, is any reputable online operator, and I use that term advisedly, going to get involved in the streaming sector? And if they are, what do they need to look out for here? anyone?
From my side, it's like Leo Vegas already do it. Leo Vegas do it well. They work with casino grounds. They work with these companies. They don't give fake money. Everyone's playing at normal balances. Leo Vegas, even Casumo back in the day, they do it the right way.
Yeah.
They need more people like that to set a precedent to stop what happened last week.
Yeah.
Just to add on, I mean, there is several operators already doing it and doing it well in my eyes. There is also some innovation in the space, such as Casino Fridays, Livespin, Commands, WeSpin. I think this is the right way to go compared to the third-party platforms.
So, in other words, in what Casino Grounds does or others do is they kind of replace the idea of having Twitch as being the platform, and they become the platform instead. Is that the way it's happening there?
I mean, they still use Twitch. They're still going to be able to use Twitch, but they
Yeah.
don't play on the sites that are blacklisted by
Yeah,
Twitch.
sure. Okay. So, in that sense, is there? Would you say that there's a nascent regulated industry coming out of the streaming space that will it elbow out the unregulated stuff, or is it going to be?
I mean, if we look, history repeats itself. If we go back 20 years, if you've been in the industry as long as what I have, when we started websites, people were doing stuff. Even now, 20 years later, people are doing things in SEO that is still not regulated. You've got affiliate sites with GamStop pages and doing black hat SEO. And I mean, I think it depends on your mindset as well in terms of, do you want to enter an industry and actually be a responsible business owner with a long-term business plan? Or are you in it to make a quick buck? I mean, the affiliate debate, do streamers have too much control? Right now, they control what they push out, so yes, but who is regulating what they push out? So everybody has to play their part in terms of being responsible. There is no one party that can dictate this. It has to be a mutual collaboration of this is how we're going to operate.
Well, I tend to disagree here because I mean that it's not the streamers that have the control, it's the operators who are creating the opportunity, and then the affiliates are actually just they are entrepreneurs. So as long as there will always exist a black market, there will always be people using it. And they are also in a way entrepreneurs. But there is someone else creating the opportunity for them.
And why are those opportunities being created? Because there's a lack of education in our industry. Yep. People are given freedom to do things without understanding the consequences of what those actions will have, the long-term consequences, not what you need to deliver today, but the impact of doing those things to the industry as a whole and how it develops us in the future.
Yeah. One of the interesting comments on the stage earlier, and it was unanswered notably, was when Tim Heath said to Todd Householder, what's evolution going to do when it comes to streaming? And Todd didn't answer or simply ignored his question, I think would be the best way to put it. Is there some kind of, when it comes to live casino and streaming, is there some kind of link there that we can see starting to form? It seems like they're in the same kind of ballpark in terms of the actual content.
I mean, I would be shocked if Todd answered that.
Yeah.
that would put him in a predicament. The problem that you have is all of these big streamers, the highest octane action is roulette, Crazy Time, any of Evolution's admittedly awesome content.
Uh-huh.
The problem is that if you have a fake person betting 100K a spin, or Drake betting 100K a spin, the action that they're getting is insane. We don't know if it's real or not,
yeah.
But unless Evolution took the step of shutting off those sites, they can't really do anything about it, which is why he wouldn't be able to answer. But the correlation is there because that is where the action is, and that is what people want to see.
But could they embrace it in some kind of way, do you think?
You could put max bets on the table, but there's no real way of embracing it without getting some fakery in there, right. I think.
So you can't imagine a scenario where Evolution decided to put live casino on Twitch, for instance?
Not without age gating.
Yeah, okay. So what to if you were a gambling regulator, and thankfully none of us are, but if you were looking at this as a regulator, and any particular country, or indeed you've already mentioned Malta and you mentioned Curacao, and I think there was some comments earlier about Curacao looking at this area, I think, Leanne.
Yeah.
Where does the regulator stand here? Is it something that they can at all approach, or is it something that actually at the moment they'll be happy to actually stand aside, apart from, I suppose it's going to blow up in the press, isn't it? And that's the point.
Yeah, but why does it have to get to that point? Why can't we actually invite the regulators now to the table and say, this is something that we are seeing, it's new. I mean, streaming's only been around for how long? You probably know more than me, 3 to 5 years,
5
maybe?
years.
Okay. It has to evolve, just like web did, a million years ago. So I think we need to be sitting down now, having these responsible conversations and inviting everybody in that channel to actually sit and go, okay, how do we want to actually approach this free content economy that we are now engaging in and enabling, because that is the only way that we get growth. We can't ignore these channels. But what do we actually want that to look like? And how do we actually want to support content creators to create great content and to build these brands and communities of customers that enjoy what they do, but do it responsibly?
Are we going to have a situation in 3 to 5 years' time where we have somebody who is genuinely a big gambling personality? You've mentioned Drake already, and that's the idea of taking a personality from another field and simply giving them money to gamble. And I think that's been done in land-based gaming as much as anything. But can you imagine something like you've mentioned, like a Mr. Beast, or a figure arising who has an audience of 1 million people globally, and does part of their stick would be that they do online casino gambling streamed? Can you see that emerging? And if that happened,
Yeah.
what happens at that point when it comes to the relationship between that huge personality and that huge audience and operators, for instance?
It can absolutely happen if they do it and it's right. If they're proving their deposits, if they're RG checked, if they're source of wealth checked, if they have gone through the steps everyone else has to go to, there should absolutely be someone like that, because the right people actually stop people from gambling if they have problems. Yeah. So if you've got an RG problem and you're watching a streamer, you're not gambling yourself generally. So that will help someone who has an RG issue. The problem is, as Leanne was saying, that regulators need to step up faster. When COVID happened, the MGA sent out a 7-page directive within 2 days that you're not allowed to mention COVID, you're not allowed to do any kind of promotions around viruses or anything. Twitch has been around for 5 years. There's been 0 directives on Twitch. So it's either A, they don't know what they're doing, or B, they're all politicians and they don't know what they're doing. Pretty much.
Yeah. And presumably, to an extent, kind of scared of Amazon, I would have thought, in a way. It's a big beast, isn't it, in the jungle to be suddenly appearing, for instance, to suddenly appear effectively on our horizons as a regulator last week. Effectively, that was whichever blundering way it did it. That was big news.
Huge news. But they could pass something into law quite easily that Amazon in Malta can only advertise gaming or gambling to people who have proven they're over 18.
Yeah.
You can integrate Jumio, any other age gating software. They can even pay for it. The streamers can pay for it. It's like €1 or something. Yeah. And then you know that your person watching is 18. You know that you haven't got a 12-year-old who was watching Call of Duty 5 minutes ago, and now you've started to play slots to get referral income to your affiliate account. It's sickening.
So your message to regulators is catch up bloody quick.
Or hire someone. Or speak to the industry.
Yeah.
You've got 100 people in this room.
And what can the industry do? And also, can the industry go to the regulators and say, look, this is something you've got to... I mean, the industry doesn't have a good reputation of going to the regulators and saying anything, but can they do that?
I'll walk there now.
It starts at home. Make sure that your policies and your program terms and your staff understand how and where and what you want your brand to be about and to say. And then work with your content curators to make sure that they stay within the lines, or the opportunity to earn revenue ends.
And that'll be the affiliates. The end of the line there about the content itself will be the affiliates.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's our responsibility as well. In the end, it's all about politics, in my opinion. I mean, it's a reason why YouTube, Twitch, and all of these guys allow this. It's probably something to do about views. It would be my best guess.
Well, the other thing is also to educate them on the kinds of things that you've just said. do their development teams actually understand that things like age gating and paying for certain types of content are things that they need to build into their platforms? They probably don't even think about their platform that way, but we do because we understand the regulation. So I think, I'd like to see more people from Twitch and Amazon coming to our events, number one.
I'm sure our gaming next one as well. Going to be playing top dollar.
Get on that, yeah?
We get money laundered checked all the time. So you get AML audits constantly, whereas AML in gambling stopped 10 years ago. AML is now in crypto and in politicians. And it's the politicians checking the gambling for something that they have been doing in this country for such a long time. They should focus on what the actual problems are, not what the problems were 20 years ago.
Okay. Thanks very much. We are out of time. It means that lunch is upon us, apparently. Thanks very much for your time. I'm sure this issue will come up again next year, and it'll probably be further up the agenda. So have our Leanne and Phil, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.